they weren't there before, and it's
a
like
philosophical problem.
What happened? Yeah,
The people
time warp.
Seeing this, they don't know.
Too bad we couldn't just like frozen in place and then hit like play and then hey we're back like nothing happened even though there were like these bottles of water
Teleportation could have been responsible for that. There's all sorts of things that like beyond. Yeah, Bob Breyer was making this point. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, beyond the laws of physics. All right, miracles and magic beyond the laws of physics. Like, you have to say that. He's a philosophy guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like is the water running in that bathtub when you're not in there? Like when you leave there, Bush used to talk about stuff like that all the time.
Yeah,
like matter, like how does this bottle get here? Is it here when we're not?
Yeah.
Are we here when it's not? Like, yeah, philosophical problems. Dude, one time we were chatting right before we turned it back about Dr. McDougal.
Mm-hmm.
He played at my cousin's wedding. And I was drunk. I don't get drunk very often.
It's a wedding.
But it was a wedding, right? And
perfectly acceptable.
And it was dude, I had a great time. Because like the acoustic refugees were playing there. And like nobody was lit, like everybody's just doing their own thing. And I'm like right up there by the stage, like the only guy being like, whoa!
Yeah.
Like, dude, he was shredding on My Girl. And I was just like, oh man, like you were just killing this My Girl right now, dude. But that guy is a player, and an acoustic player particularly, has always blown me away.
Yeah, I mean Andrew McDougal and Aaron Page and myself, we used to play in a band.
Yeah, okay.
That was called the Concrete Shoes. That was Dougal. He came up with the title. But we used to practice at Dr. McDougal's like office. So we had access to like all the acoustic refugee material, like all their like equipment and stuff. So, I mean, I'm playing my Squire Strat like into like an actual Fender tube amp. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. This is pretty cool. But man, that was fun. We played a lot of like just weird stuff, but the band broke up because of Halo when Halo came out.
Did you play Halo?
I didn't really, but it's like Aaron wanted to play it, and Andrew got kind of angry about it. Man, we got to practice, and it's like, dude, this game just came out. It's awesome,
I never I went over to someone's house for like dinner. It was like a doctor here locally. That his wife was like friends with Cora, and their kid trained here, and he was like, "What's up, dude? You want to play Halo?" And like, oh, dude, I don't even own a console.
Yeah, right.
Sure,
right.
And it's just such an awkward night, honestly, because I'm like, I don't know what to do, dude. Like, I can't even make my guy move around. Like, it was just like I never, honestly, when I started training martial arts a ton, I traded all my consoles in for like private lessons. Yeah. And stuff like that. Like, I just was like, I don't have time for this.
Right. Yeah.
Except for my Nintendo 64 with
Ocarina of Time, the best system ever.
I mean, I will agree.
Favorite game of all time is Perfect Dark.
Okay. I never got super into that one.
Which is now being like rebooted on Xbox, whatever it is now. I don't know, but I'm like, I'm gonna have to go buy one now just to play this game. No, but that's cool. Do you remember the time that we all met up? I mean, I think we were both working at the coffee house at the time, but we went over to Dr. McDougal's office and had a bunch of people there playing guitar, and you had like 20 different people playing Smells Like Teen Spirit at the same time. Do you remember this?
I don't remember.
You were there though.
Okay, was I?
Yeah.
Was Barker one of the people playing?
I think so. Yeah.
And that other guy that was always hanging out with Barker, and they both knew Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think I do remember. I want to say like you were there. Steven. Yeah, I don't remember what his last name was now, but he had like colored hair. He played like in a band. I want to say they were called like Random.
Stephen Caden.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Stephen.
I want to say he was there too.
Yeah, Stephen and I grew up together, man. He like I lived here on Central Street, like right where the levee's at, right? Like right down from the courthouse and stuff. Then there was a house there, and then his parents owned 2 houses here.
Yeah.
Right. And he lives in one, and they still live in the other.
Right.
Yeah. And we would jam over there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have this recollection of like having a bunch of people over there, but there were like 20 different people all plugged in to like, because like once again, it's like roll out the acoustic refugee stuff because they got all these amplifiers and stuff there. But you had 20 people playing like the same riff at the same time. It was incredible. Nice. This is like things that could have only happened in the early 2000s, you know?
03, 04 was all the time. Yeah, dude. I mean, I was pegging stuff. Like last night, we were watching something. Oh, Lords of Dogtown. And I was like, this definitely came out when I was in high school. I'm gonna say 05.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the guy that's in it, I can't remember his name. He's in like Alpha Dog and Into the Wild. Hirsch, I think, is his last name. He's in all these movies, and he's in Girl Next Door.
Okay.
And I was like, Girl Next Door. I was in around 2004.
Yeah. Right.
You know, like, because that was like, dude, like 10th through 12th grade is like a pivotal time, I think. It really was for us.
Right. Absolutely.
Dude, some of these. Did you get your driver's license like as soon as you turned 16?
Yeah.
That's not even a thing anymore, dude. They're like, no.
Like, I got my permit and I thought it just automatically made it able where I could just drive around if I wanted to. Like, you know, you're supposed to be with an adult or whatever, but I was like 15 years old and just cruising around. And I'm like, yeah, this, you know.
Did you drive a Volvo?
No, that was Dougal.
Okay. Well, Andrew Dougal did. And then Misha.
I drove a Ranger, a Ford Ranger.
Okay. What did Julie drive?
I don't remember what Julie had, to be honest. I remember she went off to college. She had like a Pontiac Sunfire. I remember that. But before that, I don't remember.
Interesting. Yeah. Josh Wilson drove a Volvo.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And then he sold that Volvo to Misha Apple.
Right.
There's someone else. I remember who started driving before anybody that I knew was Levi Gilbert.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, and they wouldn't let him park. And so like he could drive in junior high because he had a hardship license. Yeah. But they made him park at the field house. They wouldn't let him park at the junior high school. It was weird. He was in 9th grade and he had a hardship.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen that dude in forever.
It's weird mentioning like all these people because it's like, yeah, I remember them. And I'm like, they probably have no idea who I am. You know, it's like who's that guy? How does he know who I am? You know, it's like, well, it's probably because of Julie more than anything. You know,
it's kind of weird how we I don't know. I feel like we're kind of Julie, like the connection. I graduated with her, but you know, we worked at the coffee house together and podcasted, and you got a history degree, and I have it too. So it's like all these other things, in addition to. But I mean, probably the same thing. Because I was never like super tight friends with Michael Ward, but Josh, it's weird, and the number of people that I was not friends with or like super close with when I was growing up that like know exactly what I do with my life right now. It's kind of
odd.
You know, and not like, you know, weird. It's just it's weird. I can't. I'm not like a celebrity, but I can't go anywhere without seeing multiple people I know that want to like have conversations. Like, so I usually just don't go anywhere around here, like Walmart, anywhere like that. I can't go anywhere without like people from the 350 person membership here at the gym. But but then outside of that, like everybody on social media that like sees what we're doing with the gym, it's kind of weird because I have no concept of what them and what they're doing a lot of times, and they'll see me and be like, "Yeah, saw you doing this." I'm like, "Yeah, what have you been up to?" This is a funny one. I went with one of our instructors to eat at Quiznos, which has new owners now. I'm very sad about.
Really?
Yeah. Dennis and Robert sold it after 18 years. But it's still good. But I was in there and I was like, saying the same line to like this guy. I'm like, dude, because he's like, man, anytime I need a referral for somebody, hit you up because you know everybody. I was like, dude, I can't keep up with all these people that know me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know that dude over there. And then the dude's like, Brian.
Yeah.
Ah! And I was like, I still had no idea who that was. like I don't know who it was, but they came over and like talking about recent stuff I'd been into and what those things at the gym. And I'm like, dude, who are you?
Yeah.
Now I've been able to, some of the incognito with like the kids, I only teach one kids class. Like when I come in, like the other day, somebody was like, asked me who I was. And I was like,
oh yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It was like little Johnny's dad, you know, and they're like, oh, who are you? And I was just like, oh, just on the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it is Cora takes the brunt of a lot of that too. She has a minimum of 100 interactions a day. Wow. That's why it's kind of weird because
I couldn't do that. Like for real. Like the introvert in me just couldn't do that.
It'll turn you into an introvert.
Right. Yeah. I just like, it's not like I don't want to, it's not that I don't like you. It's just like, man, I just like have my own bubble, my own world that I kind of inhabit, and
no, I get back and forth on that. Like I don't really have like between the students here and the students at the university, like I just teach adults here.
Yeah.
In one kid's class, but it's just like it's not overload, but I don't want any unnecessary interactions.
Right.
I'm like,
I understand that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Tell you what the thing is like not like social anxiety or anything, but the emails. Mm-hmm. Like when I walked over to get these waters and lock up, like 2 or 3 students today are like, I can't find anything in the online course. And I'm like, taking screenshots on my phone. Go here. But it's always around this time. Like I started that class yesterday. You will get an influx of students not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
Just like, what's it? And when I'm on vacation, sometimes it happens. Like I'll be just getting emails about this or that. And it's like that's the sort of stuff that wears me out. Having to deal with things. It's like, well, I got other stuff going on. But yeah, talking to the number of people Cora does a day, I would not want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm able to like the student interaction. Like nobody really comes by my office, especially since the pandemic. That's why we're pushing for this reduction of office hours.
Yeah.
It's because literally we're just sitting in there. Like sometimes I take a nap, like, but it's just difficult to interact with 100 people a day.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know a dozen of my students' names every semester. Mm-hmm. I learn about a dozen by the end, but between here and there, I'm like,
yeah,
it doesn't even store that many names.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. It's weird. I'm so glad. I'm sure people always, when they see me post about teaching, they, for some reason, assume I'm like dealing with parents, which I don't, because it's against the law. Some parents can sign a form and they can be there during advising. But fortunately, I don't have to deal with parents teaching college, but I imagine like your wife does parent teacher conferences, little Johnny's failing, whatever. But I feel like the interactions from high school, junior high are like, way up there.
Yeah. So I just got a notification on my phone a few minutes ago that this podcast is happening right now. So you think if I opened it up, it would like rip a hole in the time-space continuum?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's only one way to find out.
I'm not willing to take that risk.
We were talking about teleportation earlier. We got some live viewers here. So yeah.
You mean people are actually watching?
Really? I always do get some viewers throughout the. If I
that was extremely awkward and cringy. I'm sorry.
You can get their comments too if we have comments coming in. I don't have any coming in, but last one I got some comments and I didn't realize that they'd come in. I was like, it was my guest buddy, and we were like talking about him earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah. So other than your metalizer. What's some new gear that you got?
New gear. I mean the guitar which I brought, which it's the Les Paul, the Epiphone. But like I'm mainly a pedal guy. That's what I do. Like pedals are cool. I don't know. The most recent ones I picked up, other than the one that I showed you, which I guess is going to need some repair work.
I mean, I was there with that amp. It was working one day.
Okay.
It was working when you were in here.
Yeah, it's all good. I picked up a JHS Twin 12, which we were talking about that earlier because it uses the red remote thing, which is based off of the old 1950s, 1960s Silvertone amp. It's like an amp in a box type pedal. Now, Silvertone was like your just cheap amplifier you bought through the Sears catalog, like way back when. And
yeah, I've seen tons of those over
right,
the years.
you know, and I mean, they used to be made out of subpar materials, and you could practically give them away at one point. But now they fetch hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars because of Jack White.
Yeah,
because hey, those cool fuzz tones. Hey, he's playing these old Silvertone amps. Which he probably picked up for $100, something like that. But now they're like 10 times the value.
Wow. And are they more rare now, or there's so much of them out there?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen one in person once, and it had a price tag of like $1,000 on it, and it was a head and cab. So,
hey, what's up? Hold on. We're recording live here. What are you up to? No, I can't really pause it, but I'll be right back. What are you up to? Good to see it. Classic dad move.
nice.
Dude, they just show up. Maybe they don't. But my dad's notorious about it. Just like, I mean, he lives in Clarksville. You think that he'd be like, hey, I'm coming to Russellville tomorrow. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? You're a busy dude.
Yeah.
But he likes showing up unannounced.
Yeah.
Which is fine, man. I like getting to see him. But no notification on my phone. I would like to.
Okay. But back to kind of what we were talking about. Another pedal I picked up was, I like JHS pedals. I think they're great. Yeah, I'm like, how many do you have? I have at least 2.
I just have the switchback and the button, and I have not bought. There's only one pedal I haven't bought that I'm wanting, and it's the isn't it? Oh, that phaser I was talking to you about is not a JHS.
Oh, DOD?
No, it's like a little orange stomp box.
Oh, is it just like your
it's
classic
the Van Halen
MXR?
Yeah.
MXR, right?
That's
it'd be like a phase 90.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I was thinking about that earlier. I need to go ahead and
because I have a DOD phaser. It's a blue pedal. It looks old, like 70s retro type thing. It's really good. I like it. It reminds me kind of more of a Univibe than it does an actual phaser, though. But no, JHS, another pedal I got, it's called the Lucky Cat. It's a digital delay. It's pretty cool. But other than that, yeah, it's just the guitar, the Les Paul.
What color did you say that was again?
Faded Pelham Blue, I think is what it's called.
I really dig that color.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty cool guitar. That I'm still like kind of like, man, I passed up on a Strat, for that. But I'm like, yeah, I dig Fender guitars. I like Stratocasters and Telecasters, Jagmaster or Jaguar, Jazzmaster.
Yeah,
I'm like, these are all good guitars. Mustangs, don't forget.
I'm super partial to those.
Yeah,
offset without the hole cut in them.
Yeah.
The Duosonic, like I've got one of those too, which is essentially a Mustang. Like,
yeah.
I can't tell a lot of difference.
Right, those are like student guitars or whatever when they were introduced, like the Mustang and the Duosonic. Like they were meant for if you were like an entry level type thing into playing guitar, but in a lot of times they, were later on became something like their own thing.
It's crazy. I remember like a silver guitar I'd asked you about that was like some random kind of something with a similar body style that they had made, but it wasn't It wasn't a Mustang. It wasn't a Jaguar. It wasn't a Jazzmaster. It wasn't a Duosonic. It was like some other.
Oh, okay. Was this something you sent me like a picture of?
Yeah, and it was 3 months ago or something, right?
Okay, was it like a was it tornado?
That's exactly what it was.
Fender Tornado, because I remember, because I'm like, yeah, you don't see these that often. They were only issued like in the early 2000s or something, like late 90s.
You have an impeccable memory, dude.
Yeah,
you really do.
Oh, thanks.
All the time, I'm like, bro, this is this, and you're
the
like,
gear historian.
Even on like dates or anything, you do have a really good memory. I don't,
but I don't like remember what I ate for lunch yesterday or anything.
Okay, so
where did I park my car? I'm not sure. I know it's right out front.
There's a bunch of cars.
I think.
Is it there?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That's right. That's true.
No way to know.
Yeah. Schrodinger's car.
I mean, people have gone out and their car's not been there because they got stolen.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, the Tornado, that was the name of it, because I was like, hey, that's pretty neat, but I mean, Les Pauls are cool guitars, but I don't know. I just like, if I found a shell pink colored Stratocaster, I'd have to get it. Like, I'd be like, I'm sorry, you are a great guitar, but I'm gonna have to trade you.
Did the DeLonges come in a shell pink?
Either it was shell pink or like a seafoam green color.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
They had a yellow in the DeLonge. They did. Dude, I'm so sad I did not buy the DeLonge.
Yeah, I mean, I know you were texting me. You were like, "Hey, man, that Biden money, I'm like, that's where that's going." And
okay,
I'm like, did you get it? And you're like, "Nah, I actually spent it on stuff that really matters."
Like this $800 chair I'm sitting in.
Yeah, exactly. Is it comfortable? There you go. That's all that matters.
I will say this, like, because I have carpal tunnel. Mm-hmm. I don't say bad, but in this hand, it's not getting any better. But it alleviates that. I have carpal tunnel from typing in weird positions, and too probably from arm bars and stuff that happens to me. And then there's people that don't do training at all that have carpal tunnel, right?
Right.
But this, and I got a standing desk at work. Like, I'm doing several things to get myself at a good typing angle. But so like I'd signed up. Here's what I'd done. I'd signed up to teach these online classes this summer. And then Cora was like, yeah, we'll use that money to, rebuild our deck. And I was like, oh, man, I was going to use that for the studio because, I was working extra and I'm just going to use that. So it kind of became a little bit of an argument. And then I was like, all right, I'll use the stimulus money for the studio and we'll use that money for the deck from the classes. And that's where we are right now. Thurman.
Yeah. Okay.
Teaching the classes for no reason.
Yeah. All right.
But I think I have a concession built in to any time I teach a future class, I get to keep that money.
Yeah.
That's what I'm campaigning for in the marriage. All right. Compromises. Dude. So did you get everything squared away on your not the 100-year flood?
Oh, okay. I mean, there's still some repair work stuff that's going on. Like, there's still some plumbing things that we have to get taken care of. But I mean, for the most part, the house is sound. It's well. We don't have a leak in our roof anymore. I mean, we had the people who did the roofing come out. They checked it out, and they said most likely what happened is due to the weight, the amount of ice on there, and the melting and refreezing, and that it had caused some leakage, but it wasn't like anything catastrophic. And they checked it out and they said it's okay. And they're like, hey, if you have any problems, call us back out. And we're like, okay, that's good. But the plumbing, everything is pretty much repaired and ready to go. I mean, it's all good.
As much rain as we've had too.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you had any other problems, they would be coming to the forefront.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, we had running water restored within, it was like 2 weeks or whatever after the great snowstorm of 2021.
Way to like shower and bottles of water and all that.
Well, I mean, we had plenty of water. Initially, what we had to do, because we were snowed in, we couldn't get out. We weren't able, because the snow started falling. It was either Saturday or Sunday, but we weren't able to actually leave the house to go anywhere to Walmart, which is only like maybe a mile away, till Friday afternoon. So it was like almost a week pretty much where we had plenty of supplies and stuff, but what we were having to do was go outside and grab snow and melt it, and use that to try to, shower, or well, by shower, I mean like you wash your hair in it pretty much, and then sponge bathe yourself is pretty much the only. But once we were able to get out, because we had to wait for a plumber, because I mean they were busy, I mean nobody expected negative 10-degree weather, like that, plus the snow. Is that we were fortunate enough that then we started going over to Terry's parents' place, and they're like, "Yeah, you go ahead and use our shower," and they're like,
They live in Paris.
Oh, they live in Dardanelle.
Oh, okay.
So we had to go to Dardanelle to do that, but that was once the roads got kind of clear, and we were able to do that.
How far of a drive is that to Paris to Dardanelle?
It's like maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but I mean they live down a remote little road, so I mean it's a bit sketchy trying to get down there when there's ice and snow. But I mean we made it. And
do you have like an all-wheel drive vehicle or anything like that?
No.
Like we were fortunate
to start my little Hyundai out there, and Terry has one too. She has an Elantra, so I mean we don't. It's not, of course, built for that, but we made it work. So
yeah, I bet that's great for you driving to Russellville.
Yeah,
for mileage.
But man, I hadn't seen anything like that. I'm good with not having snow for another 5 years now. Or that negative
mystique is gone.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Everybody, I mean, there were some folks, and I mean, God bless them. That's great that they were able to get out there and have a good time. I'm like, man, we were miserable. People having snowball fights, and I'm like, man, we were miserable.
No, I remember all that. So we were fortunate. I will say on the tail end, we just got it repaired the other day. Our outside faucet.
Yeah,
that was like the one place that we had neglected.
Yeah.
But other than that, we were fortunate. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. See, like 2 years before that, we had the pipes burst because we had cold weather. And I mean, the plumbers had gone in and they replaced most of the pipes with PEX piping, which is great. It is really good. But there was one section of PVC pipe that was left, and that's what exploded on us, and it's like, so they went back and replaced that. And
isn't like when I think about plumbing, like what's going on from the meter to the house, like because I had a leak like a year and a half after I moved into my house, and we couldn't find it.
Yeah, right. It's
like my yard was staying wet, like it rained and then it just didn't go away, and I was just like, what? And you could even see a little bit like where the water was pooling was where it kind of pooled in my driveway. I got it fixed actually, but it was pooling. You could see it moving.
No, well, that's weird.
Yeah. So I was like, all right. So we just started digging from the meter down.
Yeah.
Right. And then at some point, super close to my house, I found the leak.
Okay.
But what was wild is we were digging. It was about this far down, and then we got a certain portion down the hill, and it dropped way deeper.
Oh.
And I was just because we're like the meters up on the hill, the house at the bottom of the hill. But what had happened, and this has to be common. I'd had some repair work done on my driveway. There had been heavy machinery driving.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. And there was a piece of, people do this all the time when they're filling in, where they dug out for plumbing or whatever. They will throw like debris.
Yeah.
Right. So essentially there was a piece of concrete that had got like over the pipe.
Yeah, driven down. Yeah.
And it just like the tiniest little hole.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, like us, we knew that the leak was underneath the house because water was running out from underneath the house into the lawn. That's how we knew, because we woke up in the morning, and Terry got up in the middle of the night and she looked outside, and she later tells me, she's like, yeah, our walkway's clear. And I'm like, what? I'm like, everything was covered in snow out there. She's like, yeah, it's clear. And I was like, there's no snow on it. So I had to get up and look, and I see it's wet. And I'm like, oh no. And I could see like out in the lawn where there's like streams. Oh, man. And I was just like, oh no. So we had to call out the city, who were already out driving around shutting people's water off because the people were having problems with their pipes bursting. I mean, we took precautions too.
Danville,
You know, I mean, we left all our taps on drip, and you know, we were getting up at night, making sure everything was heated and warm, but it still happened anyway, and it was because of that PVC pipe, just that cheap pipe or whatever, just had gave way because it was negative 10 degrees outside. The other piping was fine, but yeah, we had to call out a plumber to have it fixed. And man, I mean, just those guys are awesome. I mean, I would be terrified to crawl under anybody's house, let alone even my own house, you know. But then they just whoop,
spiders under there, dude.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know what's under there. Snakes, you know, anything could be down there. But I mean, and our house is over 100 years old. I mean, it was built like in 1917. So you know, the guy opens the thing to the crawl space to get down there, and I'm looking in there, and I'm like, man, it looks like an Egyptian tomb. You know, I mean, there's like it's because it's stone and everything down in there. Like, I ain't going in there. So,
you know, if you find any treasure, or anything.
Yeah, right, man. But yeah, it looks, yeah, it's. I was just like, man, you know, these guys, they're incredible. You know, to have no fear because he was just gone. You know,
man,
disappeared for like 30 minutes and then comes out and he's like, yeah, I know what your problem is, and I'm like, all right, you know,
thanks, man,
gone again. You know.
I was listening to Bob talk about this. On one of his lectures where there was a guy that went into like a tomb that like he just happened upon it. He was the inspector of antiquities, but like he got into the job and we like I think Maspero was the guy that he just like left like suddenly, and this dude should not have been in there, and he excavated this tomb that he just kind of stumbled on and found all of this crazy shit in there, like mummies, like undisturbed mummies, some that had been like, and it was like I think it was a cache. Mm-hmm. So this happened several times. It's like you would have a later king who would realize like, oh man, the last 10 pharaohs' tombs got robbed. So they would take all the mummies out, repair them, and cache a royal cache of mummies, hide them somewhere else.
Okay.
Right. So there's like this guy found like a situation like this and like some treasures, all this stuff, had a mental breakdown.
Oh yeah.
Because of just like being in the tomb and like finding something and being like, whoa. Like he found the mummy of this one pharaoh, Amenhotep II.
Yeah. Okay.
And it had been disturbed, that particular mummy, but it like the find that it turned out to be was just, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guy literally had a mental break after being in the tomb all night, like just like discovering all that stuff. Like it was never the same. Like, and he just tells it. I've heard him tell that story a couple of times, but like, imagine like, oh yeah, we're going under Thurman's house. There's no dead people down here.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
And frequently, there are tombs in Egypt that have just been robbed.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to find a mummy. You're finding cool stuff. But there's no mummy. There's no, you know, but yeah, that's tombs, or before there were pyramids or larger structures, they were called mastabas.
Okay.
And it would literally be like your bottom of your house.
Yeah.
With like sealed over the top.
Yeah.
Like your floor of your house would be the top of the mastaba. And then they started layer caking them, basically.
Yeah.
If you believe that the pyramids were used as burials. It's a debate.
Yeah.
I believe they were. Some people would argue. I believe they were, and they were robbed in the Old Kingdom. And then they stopped doing that because they got robbed.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense. But there are no carvings in any of the pyramids.
Right.
That didn't start until the 5th dynasty.
Yeah.
There's never been a pharaoh discovered in a pyramid.
Right. True.
Right, not the Old Kingdom ones anyway. Not the ones at Giza, at Abu Sir, and that whole band of like I think 39 pyramids right there around Cairo.
Right.
But it is interesting. People who are critical of that theory are like, "Oh, what evidence are you working off of?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Good question." Right? That's like the fringe Egyptologist group. They're like they don't present any evidence either, right? But they're always like, "Hey, but what about this?" And it like pokes a hole in the Egyptological argument, and you're just like, "You guys hate each other," and they do. I mean, it's wild how attacking the Egyptological immunity will be to a geologist or anybody outside of that field that is like, those rocks are older.
Right.
Like they're like, yeah, what evidence do you have? I'm an Ivy League geologist. Like, not good enough, bro.
Yeah.
You ever seen that documentary Mystery of the Sphinx with Charlton Heston?
No, I have not.
It's on YouTube. It's good.
Okay. Daily Motion.
Yeah, it's been on. It was, it aired on NBC in '95, I think it was. But it's been on TLC. But it does have some sort of fringe stuff in it where this one, and it's true. The dude's like this, Nubian culture, Kushite sort of Southern Egyptian culture in Africa, and a couple others. They deified this. Their origin story is associated with Mars, technically, and he kind of goes into it. But it sounds like he's saying the pyramids are built by aliens a little bit.
Just a little bit.
It's like that one dude in the Ken Burns documentary. It's like everything is good, and then they sprinkle in this one dude who like dink on the credibility a little bit, and it's like, oh man, why'd you guys let him come? Yeah. What was that dude's name?
What are we talking about?
The Ken Burns
Shelby
guy?
Foote? Is that who we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Gentile Southern old man who seems so kind and nice, but underneath the exterior is like the preservation of the lost cause and white supremacy and all that. Yeah.
Dude, 2 times on my road in the last week, I saw 2 separate vehicles, Pleasant View, with Confederate shit on it, like a license plate. It blows me away. Like, and then I was like, and you have to say this, those people, because I didn't know what that symbol was.
Yeah.
And then when I found out, I was like, oh shit, we talked about this.
Yeah.
On podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I was like, holy shit, I feel so guilty.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, well, okay. I try and take into account that it's like the person who's doing that, like myself, is probably severely miseducated because of the lost cause myth. They probably think it's some nut, but I still don't know if after the last year and the political climate and the narratives that are out there, how people are just living under a rock and not.
Yeah. Well, right. I hear you. I mean, Terry and I, we went up to Fayetteville this last weekend, and we drove not I-49, but the scenic route that's up there.
Was it the pig trail? Did you go through
no, it's not the pig trail. It runs from Alma up into Fayetteville. But man, we saw a ton of Confederate flags on the way up there, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I thought the Fayetteville area was a little more.
Driving from from here to Branson on 7 tons.
Yeah.
And then driving, I taught a seminar in Mena a few months back.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised about that at all.
They were some downtown.
Yeah, I think you told me about that, right? That they had
their sign.
Yeah, that there's a sign that exists that says that. But,
how could you even? I mean, how could you display that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know what's going on with the sentiment of things toward. So, because like I felt like there was some momentum kind of moving toward maybe questioning, why fly Confederate flags, but I feel kind of post January 6th Capitol insurrection, like I feel like there's a lot more showing out now. It's not like something to be or that they view it as something not to be ashamed of.
Well, and then too, so like the South Carolina, so you brought to my attention, which I showed to some other people, about the Confederate Memorial Day being celebrated.
Yeah,
that company here in town.
Yeah,
but then South Carolina like closes government agencies,
right?
And it's like, you can't be the first state to secede from the union and do that, bro. Like, I get that blew my mind. That I mean, do they do that normally?
I don't know. I'm not sure if they do or not, but yeah, And it's like also because like I sent you and Julie that story.
Fort Smith, right?
Yeah, with Fort Smith with the flag controversy where they had, I guess, out at the historical site, the Fort Smith historical site, the old fort. They had or Riverfront Park, I think is what that is, and they had flags that they flew that represented the certain nations that were once
a couple of French flags,
right,
Spain,
right, United States with X amount of stars on it, whatever over time, and one of them was the Confederate flag, and that the guy is that we have an attorney who is suing the city of Fort Smith for taking the flags down, even though the reason they took them down was that they were battered and weathered out.
So he wanted them to be replaced.
Yeah, but this guy has some connection to
Sons of the Southern Cross.
Yeah, Sons of the Southern Cross, right? He's the same guy who I believe brought the lawsuit against the city of Van Buren for not wanting to fly Confederate flags in their annual parades. And I want to say he also has some connection to the Hot Springs Monument as well.
Yeah, those people that propagate that heritage, not hate saying.
Yeah.
I just don't get that.
Yeah.
Like I don't. And again, miseducation or lack of knowledge, whatever it is. But like, the more I learn, read about the Confederacy, the more I'm like, damn it.
Yeah,
you're bad for every state in which you exist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's bad too because it's in a lot of cases too, right? It's primary source material. You're reading the actual words of the people who were alive at the time, who were the architects of the Confederacy or the Confederate ideal, whatever you can call it. And it's right there, plain writing what they're saying, that their whole ideal of a nation state is based off of.
Yeah. I know.
And I mean, how do you argue with that?
Well, Will, he's a historian. He's about to get his PhD. The Teague that was on my podcast. Yeah. He said it this way. And I've been ripping him off, telling people. I'm like, I said it in my class recently. I'm like, because I end with Civil War and US One. So right. 4 weeks ago, I was talking about this. It's like, really all you have to do is read the information they left us.
Yeah, exactly.
They left us this information.
Yeah.
And if you survey that information, you will see pretty clearly with your own eyes. You will, I don't say be convinced, because some people still know about the secession letters and the content in them, or have read, speeches by Jeff Davis or Alexander Stevens or whatever. Yeah. But still, and what blows my mind is that there are probably some people who are quote unquote not, I would say racist, but are have connections to that symbol, and they have no clue of what it symbolizes. And for me, just knowing about the lost cause, and I'm like, should we I don't want to say give people a break, but it's like, it's so difficult to try and educate people. This Will T guy was like, he had a guy repairing his air conditioner, and like they got into the same conversation. And he's like, he told us 83 mentions in the secession letters, these are what the sources say. And he said the dude came back and was like, I've had a Confederate flag. I got rid of that after I talked to you, man. Because I was like basically saying, like, no one I've ever had this conversation with believed anything I said.
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, my students, they're fine, but still too, I had a couple of students last year, people that would wear like Trump masks and Trump hats and Trump shirts and you name it. They were just Trumped out. I mean, this is like a 19-year-old kid. And it's like some of the responses I got in Arkansas history about how they viewed causes of the Civil War or the Civil War in relation to Arkansas. It was just like, and what blows my mind is there are still some, and it's like, okay, well, is that the parents propagating their miseducation onto the child? And which is what I say is no different than like growing up in a Christian household. Now I got forced to go to church. I don't go anymore. I don't believe in any of that stuff. But I was made to take that in. So I'm like, well, at what point, I was probably in my early 20s before I started getting access to this information on a level that made me fundamentally change how I view it.
Right. Me too. Same way. But right. I mean, that's great that as an educator, you're able to reach out and sort of get that idea out there, because I've not had really any success with it. Anybody I talk to about it just assumes that I'm a commie atheist liberal trying to push an agenda. I'm not a communist, not an atheist, kind of a liberal though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shoot, that is such a, I am too.
Yeah.
Right. But then too, like some of the other stuff I was talking about on this very podcast, in some ways, economically, you could deem me a conservative.
Right. Right.
I do not believe trickle down works. Okay. It doesn't. But just like owning a business and like, yeah, dude, I don't like having to pay people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's kind of a conservative principle.
Right.
But I cannot, there's so much stuff with the conservative ideology that I can't accept. And even with some of the extreme liberal ideology, I'm like,
I agree.
But not to open up a can of worms or get controversial, but at the same time, I'm like, can we just all get along?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. If anything, it's like, I'm not like on some of the far left stuff. It's like, hey, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Right. Exactly.
You want to say that, you want to do that, cool. Like, great. I want to say and do stuff too. Like, let's just freedom, man. Like that's it. It's like that. I really just want to be left alone and do this podcast and own my business and not have laws passed that infringe on any of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So, I got super checked on some of this stuff since I've been in the pandemic on it. Like, I bought this building, $417,000 or something. And then 3 weeks after we move in, they're like, no, we'll close down.
Yeah.
For how long?
Yeah.
Like, until we say.
Yeah.
And then too, like, yeah, okay, well, I did my part. I closed down for 6 weeks, but it's like, that was under a conservative regime.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Also, that was another thing blowing my mind. It's like, I was like, okay, this is so. It was funny how political all that got.
Uh-huh.
And it's just.
Everything's political, Brian. Everything. You can't avoid it, or, well, I mean, we try to, right? Or, just like, hey, we're hanging out with people. We're having a good time. And then it's like somebody has to butt in, about the pandemic or something like that. And it's like,
oh, for real. Yeah.
I just want to enjoy life,
No, it's
I value you as a person,
well, God, I watched this somewhere recently. Do you have HBO?
No, I don't.
Amazon Prime password.
I was like, my parents do and all that. I just don't, I mean, it's like how many different
streaming channels you gotta have.
How many do you have, and how many are you like borrowing? Somebody's password for. How many borrowing?
What Josh told me about, there's a QAnon documentary, and I watched it on HBO.
Yeah,
it's a worthy watch. At the very beginning, it's like this dude in this apartment, like talking to these like 45, 50-year-old people probably, and he's like telling them about Q, like this dude. So he's like, yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, they say something, and he's like, yeah. So he's like, the only website that this guy's allowed to be on is this 8chan, and they're like, whoa, like, and then the dude that's talking to him, he lives in their apartment complex and everything. He is the guy that owns the website.
Yeah.
Right, and they're like, they say something kind of borderline racist. They're like, oh, we thought you were a something, like something stereotypical that Asians would do, right? Okay. This is an Asian person. And he's like, I'm the only person that in the whole world that will let this person post on their website. And I got people attacking me daily. But just like the whole interaction between him and the two middle-aged people is hilarious. Okay. Like the whole opening scene. I was texting Josh while I watched it just cracking up. But like the whole opening sequence draws you in. Because he's like explaining, he's like, yeah, these cryptic messages, and It explains the whole thing to them, and they're like, yeah, we know about this. Like, yeah. And then they know about his website even, right? And they're like, that's you? We thought you were just I can't remember what they say, but it's something hilarious.
Okay.
Like something like an Asian stereotype. So it's like, it's not really hilarious, but it's like, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And I was like watching a jiu-jitsu video, speaking of, I've been telling people this the other day, and there's a move called, like, a lot of martial arts come from Japan.
Right. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is a Japanese word.
Right.
And there's a move that people call the Japanese necktie.
Okay.
And this dude was teaching, and he's like, yeah, he's strap on this Jap necktie here. And I was just like,
yeah,
bro, you cannot say that.
Yeah.
Like, I just, it blew me away. And it was like a product that was for sale. Like, people are buying. And, and then too, so it's like, does that guy know that it's culturally insensitive to use the word Jap? I don't know. And I think we're entering a new phase where, like, I recognize that guy's statement immediately.
Right.
But also, I do remember I cited a newspaper article like that in my thesis. It was these judo guys went to West Point, beat the shit out of the cadets, threw them all, but they were throwing them in a way where they went down first, called a sacrifice throw. And they're smaller, like all these guys are the elite wrestlers in the country. And the next day, the headline, and I forget, it was a big paper, like the Baltimore Sun or something. Like, it was a larger publication for the time, right? Cadets down the Jap. Like, that was the headline, like, flump. And it was like, that's not even how it went down.
Yeah.
But that was, I mean, you fast forward, that was in 1905. 2 years later, you had the Gentleman's Agreement. You know, how many years after, 30-something years after that, you have Executive Order 9066, where they literally round the people that didn't leave and go back up. And that whole thing is what sent judo to Brazil, in which became Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
They diverted. They're like, don't migrate to the United States anymore. We're going to do Brazil instead.
Okay. Yeah.
So weird, but but there was racism in that time. I mean, it's TR's administration. He was having that stuff brought into West Point. He hired a guy to teach there from Japan. He was doing judo in the basement of the White House. Yeah. Brown belt. Right. But he ultimately, due to, I feel like, political pressures, was like, it don't come here anymore. Yeah. Maybe some of his own ideology too. Like, TR is a fascinating character. Right. I've got a book about him up here. Theodore Rex, sticking out in the end there. Yeah, but I cited that in my thesis. It goes into, there's that super racist statue of him with the Indian, and the Native American, and the slave, right? Yeah. But it's like he had the last Comanche war chief in his parade, Quanah Parker. Fascinating story about that. Have you read that book, Empire of the Summer Moon?
No, I haven't.
Second read through for me. I'm almost done.
I feel like I have it though. I just haven't read it. Like,
it's good.
Yeah, this sounds really familiar.
And I want to get Wynn spelled with it. It's like GWYNNE, or it's spelled with a G. Wynn. He has done some Civil War stuff. Okay. He's got, I want to say he has a book called Rebel Yell.
Yeah, this sounds familiar.
Right. But I don't really know. He does Civil War stuff, but I don't. Let's look up his SC Wynn.
This is all live too. So we find out when y'all find out.
So Empire of the Summer Moon, Quanah Parker, Rebel Yell, Violence, Passion, and Redemption. He's got a website here, scwin.com. Hymns of the Republic, the story of the final year of the American Civil War. Nice. That's his newest book. Rebel Yell, Stonewall Jackson. That's Violence, Passion, and Redemption. Stonewall Jackson.
No.
Yeah, I know, no, right? No, so, I wonder.
No redemption.
I wonder what this guy's angle is on.
Yeah, I don't know.
on his Civil War stuff. It's what I've wondered. Let's see, The Outlaw Bank. I need a wild ride into the secret heart of the BCCI. Yeah, he's got several publications. Anyway, The Summer Moon. I think we talked about this on several podcasts ago. It's all about the story that The Searchers is based off of.
Yeah,
with John Wayne. Cynthia Ann Parker kidnapped by Comanches.
Right.
And this is where this dude brings it home. All because the Mexican government convinced thousands of Americans to migrate to Texas, which is Mexican territory, to create a buffer zone against Comanche raids.
Yeah.
Like, that blows my mind.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't. But I asked my students that question. And I'm like, so we know how the Texas Revolution plays out.
Right.
Texas is now third largest economy in the world. Like, and I just like rattle off some stats. I'm like, and Mexico had just fought Spain for independence. So why do you think they're going to invite these people from this bordering adjacent country, which are in the middle of their manifest destiny phase? And everybody's like, oh, freaking Comanche. Like, that's how this dude breaks this down this way too. He goes, people had a real hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that a Comanche sitting around a fire in Oklahoma City present day was a threat to them in Houston.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, they'll be here in no time if they want to be. And then the distance they could cover. Like, this is just how they interacted with their environment. The things I read, the things this guy goes into, blows me away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then the Texas Rangers formed exclusively to check that.
Yeah.
And started adapting the Comanche techniques, and that's how they beat them.
Yeah.
Like, they would shoot under the neck of their horse over, like the Comanches would do with their bows.
Yeah. Awesome.
I know, but the Mongols
awesome,
too. The
man.
Mongols would do that too.
Yeah.
Mongol women could pull I believe it's 155-pound bow. Like, I remember in high school I pulled back a 70-pound. And I was like, and like, I had no control either. I was just like, oh man, I'm scared.
Yeah.
But another thing, the Comanches shot their horse out from under them. They would always report that they'd land on their feet. Like, there was never, like, that just constantly comes up. They did not land on their feet.
Yeah.
Shoot it out, thump, they land on their feet, and then they're right there.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that's scary to think about that time and place. Like, the Comanche scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Wow.
Are you on Audible?
No.
Okay, so if you do get on Audible at any point, I can send you a free book.
Nice. Okay, cool.
It's something they do. I don't know how many I can send you, but if I refer you a book, you get it for free. Because I sent this book we're talking about to Josh McMillan. He's been on the podcast a couple of times, chief of campus police, and he was like, "Thanks, man." So
cool. Yeah, I don't have Audible. I'm a like non-technology guy. So I have a phone.
You like tangible books, though. That's what you prefer.
Yeah, I do.
See, I prefer audiobooks. I have a lot of books here and in my office, but I prefer.
I like having a physical copy. I don't know. It's just, I guess I'm just so locked into that. But that's, nothing against like online or books, things that you can get like Audible or even your Kindle type stuff or whatever.
I've not got into Kindle, which they will read to you on Kindle. I don't think it's as quality. Like some of the Audible readers, like when I listened to Cuckoo's Nest, it was John C. Reilly.
Nice.
Right. So sometimes it'll be somebody that you like listening to voice.
Right.
But being on the go is the main reason I do that. And then two, that Bob Breyer History of Ancient Egypt Great Courses 48 lectures, I listened to it 5 times.
Oh yeah. I'm
just always like, yeah, they call it Wasit, Bob. They don't even call it Thebes. The Egyptians didn't call it that. I remember. like that. He just is always going deep on these things that blow me away. And I'm like, I've listened to this 4 times. I didn't catch you said that the first 4 times.
Right.
But man, that guy just does not. Even Cora loves him. We watch his I bought all of his documentaries. You're welcome to borrow.
Oh yeah, cool. I mean, love that subject. That being back when I was in grade school, I was really into ancient Egypt. So that was one of like your first loves of history, right? It's kind of like ancient Egypt or American Civil War. That's kind of like where it begins. And then you branch out, and somehow you end up at the JFK assassination. How does it all makes sense? It's all linear. You get there eventually.
So. Yeah, it's all leading the same place.
Yeah. So I think even the last book I bought was, I want to say, it was JFK assassination.
I like your you have a display of all your thesis books, huh?
Yeah, or all JFK books. All the books I had. A lot of those books were actually on my desk, and I finally cleared it out. So hey, I can start working here again. But yeah, I had far more materials than I actually. I mean, that's only a fraction of it too. There's more. I mean, that's not.
How many books did you say have been written on this subject?
Gosh, it's probably at this point, Brian. It's probably into the thousands, if not. I mean, it's got to be high hundreds, at least thousands. I mean,
I think I maybe heard so 2,000 at one point.
Yeah.
Here, Josh just sent me a picture for some reason.
Oh, nice.
Looking good.
When's he gonna come on here for the Star Wars?
It's a T-shirt. But just got this T-shirt in. Do you recognize it?
No. Do I? Music band. It's like the AC/DC. What is this? I know what this is, but if you're watching out there, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's like AC/DC. Cora just got out of surgery.
Okay, cool.
She's doing good. Doctor said everything went great.
Excellent.
Because they said it was going to be like an hour, but then they always have to disclaimer. Like when I had my hernia repaired, it was supposed to be like an hour, but it was 3. Yeah. So I'd had a surgery there in a similar area before, and there's scar tissue that was affecting where they were trying to cut. Right. So they ended up having to make a much larger incision. They had to clean out a bunch of scar tissue. And I was just like, the recovery on that was terrible, dude. I could not stand up straight for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like it was here. So like you just could not, 12 staples in my groin. But man, that's like why I was kind of like earlier, I'm like, oh, like it's just crazy. Like your wife about to have surgery. Like then she'll be recovering for a few days.
Right. Yeah. But the other books.
Yeah, it was like I think I'd heard 2,000.
Yeah, 2,000. There has to be. I mean, it's one of the most written about subjects in American history out there. Oh yes, Steve Buscemi. Yeah, classic.
I just recently watched Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, you did? So yeah. That's a great film. This is like when we make plans to have like a Quentin Tarantino based podcast where
dude, I watched all of his movies during the pandemic.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
See, I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I haven't seen that yet. So, I mean, I know the Manson connection and all that. So I'm like, why haven't I seen this? 60s history. So
the guy who was the Polanski.
Yeah, Roman Polanski.
Polanski, the guy that plays Roman Polanski is the guy I was talking about earlier from Lords of Dogtown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in that. But like we just brought that up last night because we're trying to figure out what all movies that guy had been in. But I mean, it's your typical Tarantino movie, but it's also it's good. I watched it 3 total times. I watched it back to back 2 days in a row. The days that the day after I watched it, it's long.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I kind of figured. Well, I feel like most of his movies are kind of lengthy for the most part. What would you say is your favorite Quentin Tarantino film? These are the real questions, Brian. These are the we've been talking about fluff like Egypt and Lost Cause and Pulp Fiction. Yeah. Okay, so you'd say that's your favorite Quentin Tarantino.
Dude, yeah. I actually wrote a paper about how that was my favorite movie in high school or college for intro to film, and I got the best paper in the class.
Nice. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, because he would always give you some like burned DVD of some black and white silent film you didn't want to watch.
Yeah.
But that movie contains some of my favorite ways of how he tells stories in his other
movies. Oh yeah, I mean it's the disjointed narratives. That's part of what makes it kind of click or sticks with you in a way.
I really, and too, like he wasn't full on like he is in Pulp Fiction, but I really, really enjoyed the film Sin City.
Yeah.
Of which he was a producer on 2005, I think it was.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like storytelling that parallels with Pulp Fiction, like, and you can just see that's like was it Frank Miller was the director,
right? Yeah.
But I felt like he was bringing Tarantino in to like get that vibe, and I've always thought, I'm like, that's like an honorary Tarantino film.
Was he the director of that, or was that Robert Rodriguez?
I think Rodriguez may have also been involved,
but I know Tarantino directed a scene at least in Sin City.
Yes, Frank Miller, Tarantino, and Rodriguez.
Okay, so
all of them.
Yeah. Hey, how about that hat trick? All three of them. Well, way to go.
Let's see. Rodriguez did the screenplay.
Okay.
Tarantino is a guest director.
Right. Yeah, he shows up for like one scene.
And I'm trying to see who the producer was. I think Tarantino was the producer as well. But man, I just really enjoyed that. But
yeah,
outside of that, like I really enjoy Django. Ton.
Django Unchained's a good film.
And also The Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight's great. Have you seen that one?
Yes, I have. And see, I have a different opinion on that.
Okay, yeah. You didn't care for it.
I didn't care for Hateful Eight.
Okay.
I thought it drug. I was like, it's just 3 hours. It's kind of like Reservoir Dogs in the Old West. That's kind of what it made me think of.
Reservoir Dogs is good, but it's
right. Right. I mean, I like Reservoir Dogs quite a lot, and I don't know. It just didn't have the same kind of effect to me as that. I like Reservoir Dogs. I think I like Reservoir Dogs a lot because I like the ensemble cast a lot. I mean, you have Buscemi, but you also have Harvey Keitel. Right? Tim Roth is Mr. Orange. I didn't even know that guy was British. Yeah. Until later, and I'm like, whoa, that guy can. Why is it that British people can do American accents, but Americans can't do British accents? You ever thought about this? This has kept me up awake at night. Not really.
No, I mean, that's a good point. Like, it does always blow my mind. Well, it's like Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Is a great. I mean, he's Australian.
Right. Yeah. But still,
it's the same.
They're all.
It's all the same.
Yeah. They all fly under that flag.
I remember when I heard him speak in his real voice.
Yeah.
He had too, sometimes also with singers.
Yes.
Right? Like Dave Matthews, for example.
Yeah. Isn't he from South Africa?
He's from South Africa, then moved to like Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So he has a very fascinating accent.
Mm-hmm.
But when I hear him sing, it's like the way he talks and sings, I'm like, we just don't go together, man.
Right.
Some of the stuff I can, but it kind of blew me away. But yeah, like there's Paul Bettany is another example. He's British, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Hugh Laurie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. House.
Right. Yeah.
It's lupus. It was lupus one time.
Yeah.
Episode it was. I was happy about that. Yeah, that is a really excellent point. Is it easier to do American accents? Do you think it's because our accents evolved?
Yeah, maybe derived in some fashion from it.
Woods showed me a study several years ago about sort of tracing migration, not just like, like I was around this dude from Boston this weekend. It's dropping his R's like this world was not going to end. Kai, bye. He said they were making fun of him about it. And he's like, when I figured out that Kai and Ba had an R in it, he's like, I added an R to father in a lot of other words because I thought when I was corrected on that, I thought it applied to everything. And I was just like, but Woods presented a study that's like shows how like, particularly in the South, how like slang and dialects and some of the stuff like Mark Twain was researching, like because he was all about looking at the regional slang and dialects. But really all of it is from migrations Europe to the United States,
right,
for the most part, and you can really trace that over. There's been studies done on it, but it's interesting to think that, I mean, it all does come from, less so now, but, because now you're going to have much more diversity of migration coming in from other countries all over the world. But there's a time, I think there's less of that. But the colonial era, it's like basically this whole study was that. It's like this colonialism took place. These people moved here. That's why they talk that way.
Yeah.
That's the thesis of
that.
Interesting. Well, man, we should plan. Oh, okay, hold on, we got a comment.
Oh, hey.
I had a good friend who had a tattoo on his shoulder of a Confederate flag in ANC colors. It was his conversation starter on the Lost Cause. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like
dedication.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. That's this dude, Andy Barrett. He owns Paraphelion. I'm butchering it. It's Paraphelion.
Okay.
Or it's a very fancy word, but it's a solar energy company. Ooh. Sorry if you're listening, Andy. But he's a local guy. He been in politics. He's come to the gym a little bit. Yeah, good dude though. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, roger that.
we should man, what were we planning on coupling Django with?
I think it was Outlaw Josie Wales.
Oh yeah,
I think that's what it was.
That came up recently. Somebody quoted that film to me.
Oh yeah,
they're like, my favorite scene in that movie is when it's like something happens and he says something. He's like, worms got to eat too. Like he's talking about burying somebody versus not.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you need to bury him so the birds don't get him or something. And it's like, worms got to eat or something. It's just like as the dude's telling me, it's like this obscure Josie Wales quote. I hadn't seen that movie.
Oh, the backstory on that movie is insane. Like the source material. Have you ever read about where it came from?
No.
Like the author apparently is a guy who at one time was a huge white supremacist, but like disappeared and then reemerged as an author, like under a different name.
Mm.
So it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's crazy.
Clint Eastwood was, and I haven't seen it yet, but it was just on Joe Rogan's podcast. Dude's 90.
Yeah, I know. He's old, man.
Somebody took a picture of him the other day of him like getting gas at the station. It just like we would do. He's just sitting there like maybe leaning backwards against his car, but just like filling his car up with gas like a normal person is blowing whoever posted about his mind seeing Clint Eastwood at the gas station.
Yeah. Wow. But yeah, I think the next plan we had was Django and Outlaw Josie Wales. And I think we had another plan for Lost Cause just based on Ken Burns and Civil War. I think that was so that we could just bury Shelby Foote for, like I said, his gentile Southern ways. And even though it's all a bunch of subversive kind of tactic.
Yeah. What do you think about just the concept of that Southern gentility?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I just like,
is it a thing? Can you be a gentleman and a gentile Southern person when you're beating your own slaves?
Yeah, right. But it's just like it's like, yeah, if you're sort of uninitiated into the Civil War debate over the Lost Cause and you see this on TV, it's just like, hey, he's just nice old guy telling stories, sort of thing. That's what it seems like, even though all the stories are apocryphal and they don't really have any probably historical basis of truth in them. It's
I mean, it's
I mean, I know as historians, in a way, we are storytellers, but still, we have to have something to back that up.
100%.
I love saying that since I have my degree and all that, I'm like,
scholars.
Yeah.
We're scholars.
Yeah, we're definitely, absolutely.
Yeah. Instead of articles, I started using the term like on Blackboard, scholarly articles.
Yeah.
Because I am always doing like pennstate.edu or something.
Or not refer to it's not your thesis, it's your manuscript.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice. Stolen. Yeah. Yeah, I've been working on my manuscript again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it makes it sound just, oh man, this has a good ring to it.
Yeah, I know. I do refer to myself as a historian.
Yeah.
It was kind of a weird turn.
Yeah.
To make. I mean, it's what I do.
Yeah.
On
used to be a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I'm a historian.
It's a true story. What's
actually
funny?
That is a true story. Yeah,
it is for me too. And Woods is who kind of convinced me to let a lot of that stuff go by just a few simple statements. He was like, "Well, Brian, about that is like that author's making a lot of money off that idea."
Yeah,
like he would look at it objectively. He's like, "Yeah, this is something. It's like keywords on the internet. Like you can look at certain things in YouTube. Like when I do my tags for my videos, I go pull up from the search what the top results are, and I'm like, oh, those need to be my tags.
Okay, so they show up, right? So
but I think it's a similar
right. Yeah. I wish I would have got to take that course that you got to take about the espionage thing. It's like, oh man, that was great because it was like when I did my thesis defense, and after you're like, man, all this stuff that you talk about, you're like, man, Woods was into that too. I'm like, yeah,
Century of Spies, bro, right here. This is the book.
Yeah. Yes. I was just like, yeah, man,
bro, I've got my espionage notes in this bag right now. But I mean, it just too. It was a weird thing because honestly, going through that class is what made me more conspiratorial.
Oh yeah,
because I'm like, anything's possible. Like, if we did this, we would do that too, and that's a slippery slope,
right?
And I think that's what gets a lot of people going down rabbit holes,
right?
And then, I started going down all kinds of rabbit holes, like Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, right. Which, I know you've mentioned several times because you're like, yeah, that's crazy.
Why is Nixon there?
Presidents and
there's some primary source where Richard Nixon is like the most pivotal moment of my political career was at this speech he gave there, and I'm like, what does that mean? This owl carved into a tree, or it's maybe stone.
But I want to say, didn't we look that up? And he was later just making fun of the whole thing. I want to say that
somebody
was poking fun at it, just being like, man, this is ridiculous. And, I was there,
like a homophobic slur.
Right.
Called it
something.
Like
but I know he was just it was
after he was president. Yeah.
Yeah, so
hold on, I gotta pull up those books that I was telling you about because it's a series. Nixon Land.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff from Dr. Moses on Nixon.
Dude, I'm kind of jealous. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nixon Land, Rise of the President, The Fracturing of America. Rick Perlstein.
Okay.
Let's look up his other publications.
That's always fun. That's a rabbit hole in itself. Like when you find, hey, somebody wrote a book, and then you go look up what else they've written. It can get pretty interesting.
This guy that I'm super into on history of Christianity that I was telling you starting to Dicum about, he's written more than 20 books on the topic.
Wow.
But
that's impressive.
This one that he put out, The Historical Jesus, the lectures are on YouTube now. Right now, they might not stay on, but it blows me away. Before the Storm, about Barry Goldwater.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what this one is. The Invisible Bridge, the Fall of Nixon and the Rise of Reagan. Reagan Land.
Reagan Land. I feel like I might have
America's Right.
Oh, is it? Where'd you put it? Because
where did I put it?
Yeah,
different guy. But look. America's Right Turn. You stole that. You stole that from William C. Berman, or he stole it from you,
or something. Yeah. When was it published? Let's see. We're gonna set this right.
First publication 94.
Okay, and what do we got here? Moment of truth.
2020.
Rip off.
All right.
Way to go, loser.
Mr. Perlstein, Stain.
Plagiarist.
How do you feel about it? Because I in my lectures, like I will title a lot of my lectures, but I put it in quotes.
Yeah.
Like for example, what was a lecture I titled the other day that was something that Bob had, it was like something he says all the time. And I was like, but I put it in quotes, and I always am talking about that dude when I am teaching Egypt. So it's like, he comes up. But I do, I like titling my lectures. And it's usually a title of a book or a thesis or something like that. But that's,
well, man, it sets the whole tone for everything. It's like, you put a cool title with it, and you're good.
Yeah. Berman.
But that's a ripoff.
Totally a
ripoff.
Too, here's I was talking about these when I was just recording. I need to reread this. That's Wood's book.
Black Struggle, Red Scare.
Ooh. Yeah, you can borrow it if you want. But this is about that's like Dixiecrats to LBJ not running for re-election.
Yeah,
it's 48 to 68.
The Southern Red Scare. I've heard of this book before. Yeah, I have. Louisiana State University Press. Cool.
That's funny, I guess. I think Dr. Tarver gave me this book.
Who's Michael?
Well, he's got to be Michael Tarver.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is, because he spells his name. Look how it's spelled. E-A-L. And I remember Paula used to be like, now be sure you spelled his name right. He's very particular about that. I love Dr. Tarver, man. I'm probably going to his house this weekend. Yeah, but I think Tarver had given me this, and I bought this one, and I think it has a note.
Oh, yeah,
cool. from when Woods we signed it for Tarver or something. Tarver gave me a ton of books. Over the years. Yeah, this is. See, I even lectured in one of my graduate. I think it was a course on the second Red Scare, first and second Red Scare, where one of the chapters in here I lectured over and talked about Richard Russell as well.
Yeah.
Woods has been working on a book that's he actually said manuscript. He's like, I get you a copy of my manuscript, see what you think. But dude, he's been working on it and his dad the whole time I've known him.
Yeah.
Wow. The whole time. Like, and it's practically done. But imagine, man, like I've known that guy for 12 years. Like, that's a long time to work on anything. That's like Woods just got his jiu-jitsu black belt.
Right.
11 plus years. Right? Like, that's insane. It's a long time.
Yeah, man.
To work on anything. That's what's cool about martial arts, but it's not just books. It's Jim Morio's podcast for 3 years. How long you been playing guitar? 20 something.
Yeah.
Same.
Since I was 15. Yeah. So 20, almost 21 years now.
Isn't that wild to say shit like that?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Like, here's where I'm at. Yeah, I've been out of high school for 15 years.
Yeah, right.
Like, I joke about it with people.
18 for me. That's what it's been 18 years. So
is there a 15-year reunion? Did you go to it?
If there was, I didn't go.
Did you go to any of them?
Nope.
I'm not planning on it either.
Yeah.
I didn't go to my 10.
It's just like, man, I don't know. I feel awkward, just.
Well, you'll get together with people you want to get together with, just like we're doing right now.
Like, it's not. I don't like y'all. It's just, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just. I guess I'm so set in my ways at this point. Outside of that, I don't need to revisit that. I don't need to go back to that.
Yeah, man. And two, there's several people that like Michael Ward that I would love to reconnect with now, have a conversation with, hang out with, anything like that. Evan Jacobs.
Yep.
I was messaging. He popped up on Facebook the other day. I was like, dude, where are you at? What are you doing? He's living in Fayetteville. I was like, dude, I'll hit you up sometime when I'm up there. Mm-hmm. But man, there's a lot of people that I would like to reconnect with, but I feel like they are also not going to go to the high school reunion.
Yeah.
For plenty of good reasons. Yeah. But several people missed out on the reunion, I guess, because of COVID. Yeah. I know that I was hearing people buzz about, I think Cora's reunion maybe didn't happen because of COVID. So,
great.
I remember going to my parents' high school reunions with them
really
growing up. And then like when it became a thing for me, I'm like, this is this. Like I remember like my dad saying things like I've been out of high school for 15 years. Like I would be like 8 years old at that time. You know, like he would just things that he said are now like they exist for me. And it's a weird part of the aging process, man.
It's a full circle, man. Just, golly, it's weird.
I'll tell you a full circle one here. And then we can wrap up. Because I got a course about to be on. I'm going to check on her. That yoga, have I given you a tour of the gym before?
Yeah.
Okay. So you came here before I even started moving stuff.
Yeah, Julie and I did.
Yeah. So the yoga room is where Jeff Woods and I did our first jiu-jitsu private lesson. Like I was like editing a documentary about my grandpa fighting in Normandy, and I had taken him for a spouse just joking. So I went to sign up for the special problems. They're like, yeah, he's in Vietnam. He'll be back later. And I was like, I just dropped out of school and I'm coming back for the first time on unemployment. Like this dude's in Vietnam. I've already signed up for special problems with him. Like, what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
But so I'm in there editing in his office hours a week. And then like one day he's like, well, what's up with this jiu-jitsu shirt you're wearing? I'm a Taekwondo black belt and I would love to learn jiu-jitsu. And then we've been training jiu-jitsu together ever since. I trained with him yesterday. But it's just funny because that's like how we forged our bond or whatever. Ever since he's just continually come back. But our first private was over there when Josh Underwood's uncle, you remember Josh Underwood?
Mm-hmm.
He owned this fitness center, sold it to us. And Josh worked here and lived with me in my apartment at the time after high school. And I was in college at that point. And he talked to his uncle and we're like, hey, can they just like work out back there and roll around, do jiu-jitsu? Because the gym for Clarksville had moved to Northwest Arkansas and closed.
Yeah.
And another one of the guys, very first guys back in that room was here last night, was talking about it. But it's like, it's so wild how we started in this little like Zumba room of a fitness center 12 years ago. And then like 10 years later, we bought it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a weird full circle, thing. It's wild. Also, I just tested for a black belt with Elvis's trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And that testing was 7 years to the weekend of my very first black belt. Wow. Like that's weird to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are the odds? Like the same weekend, 7 years ago, I tested for my first black belt and have earned 2 in between in 2 other arts. But it's just like, what's the odds of that? It's like then this happened yesterday. It's weird stuff didn't happen like this. I was saying something to Colby, you sitting right there about Nick Lyons. And he texted me as I was, and I hadn't talked to Nick in like months.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
it's a glitch. It's a glitch in the matrix.
Well, okay. So here, did you see that video of Cora almost getting run over at the stoplight out here?
No.
Let me show you real quick.
Wait, is this?
Oh, dude. So 2 people messaged Cora and told her they had a dream about her dying.
Really?
2. One of the kids from the gym, and it was a bike accident. And the other was this guy that is in New York that I have not talked to in 5 years, that is not friends with us on social media. Text my phone, didn't have his number saved. His name's Art. Like I know him. I would call him my friend. He's a cool dude. He'd come work at the plant and train with me. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I just thought you should know I had a dream about your wife, and that she died in the dream. And I didn't know if you're superstitious. I wanted you to know. And I was like, who is this? And why are you dreaming these things about my wife? And he's like, oh, it's Art. And I was like, oh, hey, how's your jiu-jitsu? Like,
how's it going?
Did you get your bike belt yet?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, public safety pulled the cam. I'll find it real quick.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
but 2 people messaged her, said like, we think you're gonna die, and she didn't. Thank goodness.
Yeah, of course.
But look how I'll show you how close.
Man,
it was.
right here.
Right here, dude.
Okay.
So this is her.
Okay.
This is his stoplight out here, like by the road. Like you'll sit at.
Most popular.
River Valley Now shared it.
Ooh,
and it got like 12,000 views.
Nice. Okay.
14,000.
Dude, how old is that car?
All right. Well, it's okay. So this, watch, it's going to be traffic coming this way. She gets a green light,
Okay.
so she can ride across now. Watch. Whoop! Did you see that?
Oh man, yeah, that's pretty close.
Okay, it's going to be coming from this way.
Yeah.
So when she's about to start riding,
so they totally just ran a red light.
They ran a red light. Whoop.
Oh man,
dude, like she's got.
Who's tonight on Unsolved Mysteries?
Hey, Bob Breyer was on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
I'm surprised I don't know this because, like, I
just found out myself.
Mysteries fanatic, bro.
Let's see.
We could have a whole podcast just about Unsolved Mysteries and how great that show was in the 90s, and the fact that when you're a kid and it's like, man, the ghost stories and the UFO stuff, oh, that's so creepy, and then you become an adult and the missing people and the bizarre murder stuff all becomes the terrorizing stuff. Yeah, man.
I'm trying to find what episode he was on. It was in 87.
Wow, that's like first season, man.
Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries 87. You know who else is in an episode? I found this out from listening to his biography, Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, he is, and he's like even has a shirt unbuttoned. He's like mowing the lawn at one point. Yeah, I'm like, that's classic McConaughey. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
his book.
It's
was
a
good.
sad story actually, but yeah, he's in it, and it's just like, yeah, that's only Matthew McConaughey. Or McConaughey, as my dad would say. I'm like,
yeah.
What is it?
I have some guy here. His name's Josh O'Haughnessy or something like that. And I'm like always butchering his name. And I'm like, O'Shaughnessy. Like, it's like, you ever seen Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Garden Hose.
Yeah.
Get out here.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I'm like, dude. And two, he has his license plate says like, pizza for me. I'm like, and like Corey and I this whole time are like, who is out here in their license plate says pizza for me? And he's like,
yeah,
it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, dude, we should definitely get together as many times as we can over the summer. I'm sure.
What we need to do is we need to have the Star Wars rematch at some point.
Yeah.
That means you, Josh Wilson.
It came up.
Is that the right camera?
It is.
Okay.
That's yours.
I don't know.
It is. I'll have this. I haven't dialed this one in yet.
Oh, okay.
This is so like with this, what I'll periodically do is I'm trying to cue it up to where you talk, the mic's on and camera's on you.
Yeah.
I talk, mic and camera's on me.
Yeah. Instead of having just like the dual.
Like every 30 seconds or so, I can have it jump to that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Just like a view of the whole table. Right. Also,
records.
And the records are going into the earphones, and they're not. They don't record, so we can do all the rest of our podcasts.
Wow.
Vinyl only.
That's pretty sweet. I'm down for it.
Yeah. And I will. I almost bought metal on vinyl the other day. It was at the record store for like $18.
Okay. Yeah. Pink Floyd. Yeah. Their 1971 album. So yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it is. It is great. It's got echoes on it. That's what everybody always talks about. Even though like the other songs are good, even the one with the singing dog's all right.
Mademoiselle Noobs.
Yeah, Seamus.
Yeah, I really on the part of echoes. Hats off to Roger. That when it goes into the bass interlude,
yeah,
like way into the song, and then Dave was like,
yeah.
But they did that on the Live in Pompeii.
Yes.
DVD.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Pretty great. I want to say they did Saucer Full of Secrets too. Like the title track.
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Man, wow. I can't wait to go see Roger Waters. Even though he has to have like 3 people up there filling David Gilmour's one part.
Yeah.
Because he does. The production, like everything he had at his last show, is like 17 semi-truck trailers full of shit. And like, I mean,
yeah, the guy puts on a show. He really does.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about it, man. It was a show. And the whole time I was sad about David Gilmour not being the dude playing the guitar there and singing the songs. but still, it's like that's as close as we're gonna get.
Yeah. Well, I just hate that I don't know, in 2005 when they had the Live Aid reunion or whatever, it's kind of like they teased that, and then I want to say that Gilmore maybe showed up like once or twice at like
he played acoustically,
right,
a couple of times with Roger.
You know, so it's like, hey, they're cool now, and then it's like, nope.
The booking lies.
Yeah, right. You know, it's
what was it?
Yeah.
Like, who's the drummer?
Guys?
Nick Mason.
Yeah, Nick Mason.
Okay, Nick Mason was touring with some of the original people connected to the band, but doing
they're doing the early
Sid
material,
Barrett
like
stuff,
yeah, Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Saucer Full.
A friend of mine went to see it. Michael Booty, been on this
podcast. I'd go watch it.
Drove to Dallas to see it.
Yeah,
that's where we're seeing Roger.
Yeah,
but man, and too, like I got the overwhelming sense. I think Roger was 77 years old the last time I saw him. And Colby said this to me, and I mean, it's an accurate statement. It's like this may be the last chance we ever get to see this guy. Yeah. I read an article about Aerosmith yesterday. They had started this Vegas residency, and then the pandemic hit, and that's tabled. They're not doing that, and then they haven't played. They're supposed to go on this tour. They bumped it a year, and like the other guitar player, not Joe Perry, he was like, "We're old." He's like, that's a serious factor.
You guys have been old for a while.
He was saying, he's like, we may never play again. And I was like, I hadn't seen you dudes yet. Like, play some more. Yeah, but, you know, honestly, because I go to Vegas. I've been to Vegas 7 times, 6 times in the summers for these trade shows. And I'm like, oh, we go back to Vegas and go see an Aerosmith show, you know, like. I've never seen him. Colby's seen him. Says that I think that's his first concert ever.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Well, dude, it's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always good to see you.
Anytime you need me on, I'll be here.
It was a good podcast about nothing and everything.
Yeah, at the same time.
I was joking with Josh about that. He's like, "What do you want to talk about?" I was like, "Nothing." And we talked about tons of cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right, peoples. Signing off.